Hi everyone! Today we're gonna introduce remote sensing. Then let's go! What is remote sensing? Remote sensing is represented the science of acquiring information about Earth's surface without actually being in contact with it. And how this is done? This is done usually by sensing and recording reflected or emitted energy and then processing, analyzing, and applying that information in order to reveal a new information or in order to assist to solve a particular problem. What are the elements of remote sensing process? There are 7 elements of remote sensing process as shown in figure 1. Where A is represented energy source or illumination, B represented the interaction between radiation and the atmosphere, C is represented interaction of radiation with target, D represented recording of energy by the sensor, E represented the transmission, reception and processing, F represented interpretation and analysis, and finally G represented application. What are the functions of each element that comprises remote sensing process? Each element has its own function, where the function of energy source or illumination that represented the first requirement for remote sensing is to have an energy source that used to illuminate or provide electromagnetic energy to the target of interest. B represented radiation and the atmosphere, or the interaction between radiation and the atmosphere. Whereas the energy travels from its source to the target, it will come in contact with and interact with the atmosphere that is passes through. And this interaction may take place a second time as the energy travels from the target to the sensor. C represented interaction with the target. Once the energy makes its way to the target through the atmosphere, it will interact with the target depending on the properties of both target and the radiation. D represented recording of energy by the sensor. After the energy has been scattered by or emitted from the target, we require a sensor in order to collect and record the electromagnetic radiation. E represented the transmission, reception and the processing. Once the energy recorded by the sensor has to be transmitted in electronic form to receiving and the processing station where the data are processed into an image, either in hard copy and or digital. F represented interpretation and analysis. The processed image is interpreted visually or digitally or electronically in order to extract information about the target which was illuminated. And finally G represented application and also represented the final element of remote sensing process. That is achieved when we apply the information we have been able to extract from the imagery about the target in order to better understand or reveal some new information and or assist in solving a particular problem. What are the types of remote sensing? Actually, there are 2 types of remote sensing. The first is called passive remote sensing or passive remote sensor. That is represented the remote sensor that used to detect energy when the naturally occurring energy is available. As shown in figure 2, the sun radiation is incident on the earth and they're reflected to the sensor. This sensor will detect the reflected or emitted radiation from the earth. In this case, we called it a passive remote sensor. The second type of remote sensing is called active remote sensor that emit radiation to direct it toward the target to be investigated. Then, the radiation reflected from the target is detected and measured by the sensor, with several advantages, include the ability to obtain measurements anytime and regardless of the time of day or season. As shown in figure 3, It shows that the remote sensor will illuminate the Earth or will emit radiation to the Earth, and then the radiation will reflected from the Earth to the sensor. And in this case, we called it active remote sensor. Thank you for your attention. Please do like and subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next video.